Hello YouTube and welcome to What the Hell, a segment where I am going to discuss certain business terms and explain what they really mean. Welcome to Business Talk. Hello YouTube. Today we're going to start with a segment I call What the Hell. This is just a little segment that will help you understand certain words and key business terms. Today's topic is, what the hell is an employee? Okay, I know a lot of you may or may not understand what an employee really is. Throughout my history in business management, I can understand where there are issues between determining who an employee is and what makes an employee an employee. Well, I want to go ahead and let you know that there are certain determining factors that determine who an employee is. And of those factors, a lot of people get it wrong. I was an unemployment tax auditor with the state of Texas. And during my time there, I got to understand the ins and outs of the unemployment tax code, at least for my state, and the employment law, at least for my state. But it goes to reason that this should not be too dissimilar from most other states out there. One of the biggest things that people don't understand in my state and in many states is what actually has to transcribe for a person to be an employee. An employee is anyone who is not able to realize a loss and a profit, which means that person who is doing work must be able to actually lose money if they don't get the work done quick enough. Or they must be able to make a profit off their time or their service if they are able to get the work done in a decent amount of time. Another factor is control of direction of the work performed. Not all places or people are going to be able to have this control, even if they are not an employee. But for the most part, a very big determining factor is can that person determine the order of operation of the work being performed? Does that person have a license or something that makes it where they are the determining factor of how something should be performed? If they don't have that control, chances are they're an employee. The third thing that I'd like to bring up is schedule. A big issue that people don't understand is an employee is not someone who technically can set their own schedule. And by that I mean, not working within like the 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 business hours or whatever. But an employee is someone who would not be able to determine their own schedule, like decide they want to work Tuesday but not Wednesday, but they'll work Thursday, or they'll determine what time they need to show up on a job instead of being told what time they need to show up on a job. An employee is a person who does not have control over the scheduling of when and how they do their work. And that is a big factor when it comes down to determining whether or not someone is an employee. Take, for example, I'm going to use the construction market for this example. I have many friends, and I myself, at different points in my life, have worked in construction. When you work in construction, you usually work between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. So that's kind of your set schedule. But that doesn't mean you are or are not an employee, because that's usually the time period in which certain laws allow you to work, such as noise ordinances and things of this nature. I know in the city I live in, there's a noise ordinance that says at 8 p.m. you can no longer be running saws and things of that nature because of noise pollution. Well, that would affect how much of a schedule I could create for myself and how much of a schedule that anybody in the construction field can create for themselves, because construction is noisy. It just is. Well, using that same tactic and using that same kind of reference, is a construction worker may or may not be able to realize a profit or a loss. It depends on the kind of construction that person is doing. A construction worker may be working as a framer, Well, unless that construction worker is the lead of a framing team or owns a framing company, that person is going to be an employee of the framing team or framing crew. The reason why is that person cannot experience a loss. That person is being paid hourly, maybe even commission bonus, but that person is going to always make a profit off of their time. They're going to get paid $15 an hour for however many hours they work, or $20 an hour for however many hours they work, and they will never be able to experience a loss. When you're talking about loss, gas does not count. Another thing that you have to look at, going back to the direction of work performed, is anyone who works in construction understands that there is a relative, or there's a pattern in which work must be performed. Like, you can't put the roof up without the walls. You can't put drywall in without the electrical being done. You can't, put in a sink if you don't have the plumbing finished, or at least roughed in. There's a certain order that things have to be done in. So, to a point, they don't really have direction or control of direction in what they do, but they are able to they're able to take control of direction in much smaller ways. Some of the ways that they may be able to take direction and control are in deciding when and how to start a project, and determining when that they need to finish the project and what needs to be done in between. By controlling the workflow, they can take direction and control. But this doesn't always mean that they have direction and control, and it really needs to be considered on a case-by-case basis. So if that didn't confuse you, what the hell is an employee? Well, that's a good question. In many situations it changes. But the three factors you really have to look at is can the person realize a profit and a loss? Not just one or the other, but has to be able to realize both a profit and a loss. Does the person have control of direction on the work performed? Not just menial direction, but do they actually control the direction of the work within the status quo for the particular job that they're doing? And the third thing is does that person have the ability to set and abide by their own schedule? Are they able to actually determine when and where they will do their work? These are the three main factors in determining whether or not someone is an employee. And there's a big difference in responsibility between someone who is an employee and someone who isn't an employee, including liability. And this is one of the reasons why it's so important to know. And as I said at the beginning of this, a lot of people actually get this stuff confused, and they don't understand where they sit in the fold, and where the people who work for them or around them sit in that fold of being an employee or not being an employee. When it comes down to it, this is one of the most detrimental things to affect business is when they get this wrong. I have seen many times where businesses have sworn that someone was not an employee, but when you really look and test them on these factors, it turns out that person is an employee and the business is just paying them incorrectly. This also comes into some businesses, and some bosses and business owners just don't want to have to deal with the paperwork involved with someone being an employee. Again, this is wrong, and it's also illegal, and can get a business or a business owner in a lot of trouble if they do not understand how they are categorizing their employees, and that they are categorizing them correctly. Again, this has been What the Hell is an Employee, and I hope you have a little bit better of an understanding now. Thank you. If you like this video, or at least like this concept, please let me know in the comments below. Also, if there's anything that you think I could do better to better get my thought process through to you, please let me know in the comments below. I would love your opinions. And this is, like I said, just one part, or the first part in a series of these videos that I am planning on doing on many different business topics, and many of the basic business topics that I see constantly got wrong. I will be glad to take on any input I can get, and it'll help me do a better job of helping you in the future understand how many of these things really work and how they should be done. Thank you again.